What happens when the man who signs the checks goes undercover and finds out his supervisors are stealing from customers with a smile? Darren Langston had inherited the business from his father 2 years ago, a chain of 14 thrift stores that prided itself on low prices, donated goods, and helping low-income families stretch every dollar. His dad built it from the ground up, always focused on community, honesty, and fairness. Darren kept the lights on, grew profits, and expanded to more cities. But recently, things had started to feel off. Emails about missing donation receipts. A customer claiming she donated a box of designer clothes only to find them missing from the rack. And a longtime employee at Store 7 suddenly quit with no notice. Darren tried to get to the bottom of it, but every time he asked, he got the same rehearsed answers. Must have been a mix-up. We'll look into it. Probably a mistake from the warehouse. Darren didn't buy it anymore. So he shaved the beard, dyed his hair darker, traded in his tailored jacket for a zip-up hoodie and worn jeans, and became Ethan, a quiet, 36-year-old new hire sent by the temp agency to help with holiday rush inventory. Officially, he was a warehouse temp. Unofficially, he was the owner, and Store 7 was where he'd start. Store 7 was in a blue-collar neighborhood just outside Indianapolis. The building was old but clean. Donations came in through the back, processed and priced by floor staff. A manager and 2 supervisors ran the show. Darren had never met any of them. That morning, he showed up 10 minutes early. "Hey, you the new guy?" A thin, wiry man called from behind the counter. He had a clipboard in one hand, coffee in the other, and wore a faded polo with a name tag, Travis Supervisor. "Yeah, Ethan," Darren said, adjusting his beanie. "Here for temp warehouse help?" Travis barely looked at him. "Right. Follow me. Don't touch stuff unless I tell you. We've had idiots price a toaster at $100 before." Darren followed him through a narrow hallway into the back room, where rows of plastic bins overflowed with bags, clothes, old electronics, and toys. The air smelled like dust and old fabric. 2 people were already working. One was a young woman folding sweaters at lightning speed. She looked up and offered a quick smile. "Hey, I'm Haley." "Ethan." He nodded. "You're lucky," she said, glancing toward the front. "Travis is in a decent mood today." Darren noticed the older man by the door, gray hair, maybe in his late 50s, just staring silently, pricing a box of books. He didn't say a word. "That's Carl," Haley said gently. "He's been here forever. Doesn't talk much, but he's solid." By noon, Darren was sweating. The back room was hot, and there was no AC. He pushed carts, sorted shoes, lifted heavy bags, and tried to stay out of Travis's way. Haley helped him figure out the sorting process, how to tag donations, what went to the floor, what got trashed. She was kind and patient even when he made mistakes. But an hour later, he saw something strange. A woman came in through the donation drop-off. She looked maybe mid-30s, holding a box labeled Baby's First Year. She handed it to Travis personally. "I wanted to donate this," she said. "Most of it's brand new. We lost our baby last year. I thought maybe another mom could use it." Travis nodded, barely listening. "Yeah, sure. Thanks." He walked straight to the supply closet, opened it, and shoved the box in. Then he locked the door. Haley frowned. "That's weird." "What?" Darren asked. "He usually puts baby stuff right out front. That sells fast." Darren said nothing but made a mental note. Later that afternoon, a man walked in with a small envelope and asked for a receipt for his donation. "It's not much," he said, "but I like to support you guys." Travis took the envelope, nodded, and smiled. Darren was standing close enough to see what was inside 2 crisp $20 bills. After the man left, Travis walked to the register, pulled out the drawer like he was putting it in, then paused. He looked around, then casually slipped the bills into his back pocket. Darren's stomach turned. He had to be sure. So the next morning, he came in early again. This time, he watched Travis open the supply closet from yesterday. The baby items were gone. Not on shelves. Not in bins. Just gone. "Hey Travis," Darren said. "What happens to the stuff people give directly to you?" Travis narrowed his eyes. "Why?" Just wondering. Don't. Stick to lifting boxes. That night, Darren sat in his car, replaying the scenes in his head. His hands shook with anger. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was a system. He'd seen enough to know something was deeply wrong here. But he needed more. He needed to catch Travis in the act with no way to twist it. 2 days later, he got his chance. A sign went up at the front. Help feed local families. Donate at the register. All cash donations were supposed to go into a locked drop box and collected by the district office at the end of each week. But Darren noticed that during checkout, Travis was the only one who handled the box. Haley rang up customers, and Travis collected the cash into a small pouch. Then he'd walk it to the office. And 5 minutes later, come back empty-handed. Darren waited until the store was empty and followed him quietly. The office door was cracked open. Inside, Travis opened the pouch, counted the bills, and without hesitation stuffed half into an envelope and tucked it into his backpack. Darren's breath caught. That was it. He wasn't just stealing from the company. He was stealing from people who thought they were feeding families. Darren stepped back into the hallway, his fists clenched. Tomorrow, the mask would come off. The next morning, Darren arrived 15 minutes before opening. The lights in the back room were still off, but he could hear someone unlocking the front door. He waited by the loading dock, pretending to check his phone. Travis stepped out a minute later, speaking quickly into his Bluetooth headset as he lit a cigarette. No, I told you Friday night. Same spot. Bring it all. Yeah, the Nike stuff too. Darren didn't move. Travis hadn't seen him. He finished the call, flicked the cigarette into the alley, and walked back in. Inside, Haley was already folding a pile of scarves by the donation table. She glanced up, then lowered her voice as he passed. I don't get it, she said. Why does he keep moving stuff out of the bins before we can log it? Darren met her eyes. What do you mean? Yesterday there was a whole crate of winter coats, nice ones. I tagged half, went to lunch, came back, and it was like they vanished. He didn't answer. Instead, he went straight to the office, knocked once, then pushed the door open. Travis looked up from his desk. What? I want to know where the baby box went, Darren said, stepping inside. The one from 2 days ago. Travis stood. What the hell are you talking about? You locked it in the closet. Then it disappeared. Travis came around the desk slowly. You don't ask questions like that. You sort. You lift. That's what temps do. Darren stared at him. So you're not denying it. You got a problem? Travis was close now, his voice low. Then quit. Nobody asked you to stay. Darren turned and left without a word. By noon, the store was busy. A woman with 2 toddlers asked if there was any winter gear for kids. Haley looked around helplessly, then pointed to a single rack with mismatched gloves and a few worn jackets. I thought we had more, she muttered. Darren walked past her to the back room. Carl was quietly taping up boxes near the far wall. Darren hadn't spoken much to him, but there was something steady about the man. He walked over and crouched beside him. How long's Travis been here? Darren asked. Carl didn't look up. 6 years. Has he always handled donations like this? Carl's hands didn't stop moving. He started locking things up about a year ago. Said it was too valuable to leave out. And the cash donations? Carl paused. I don't touch the register. Darren nodded, stood, and walked away. By evening, customers were complaining at the front. A man argued with the cashier about a DVD player that was marked, tested, and working but didn't power on. Travis walked over and said something Darren didn't catch, but the man left shaking his head. Haley leaned close again. He told the guy no refunds. Even though we're supposed to offer exchanges on electronics. Darren asked, what's the return policy say? She pointed to a sign on the wall. 3 days on electronics. Store credit only. And he just ignored it? Does it all the time? That was it. Darren stepped outside and made a call. 2 hours later, after the store closed and the last customer left, he gathered the staff in the sorting room. Travis leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. What's this about? Darren pulled off the beanie and ran a hand through his hair. My name is Darren Langston. I own this company. Haley's eyes widened. Carl stopped moving. Travis didn't flinch, but his fingers tightened around his belt loop. "No, you don't," he said. "I do," Darren replied. "And I've spent the last 4 days watching you steal from customers, lie to donors, and pocket money meant for families in need." Travis took a step forward. "You've got no proof. You stole $40 from a donation envelope on Tuesday. You skimmed half the register donations from the Feed a Family drive yesterday. I watched you do it. You also removed high-value items before they hit the floor. I'm guessing you're selling them somewhere else. Maybe online. Maybe out of your trunk." Travis opened his mouth, but Darren cut him off. "You're done. As of now, you're terminated. You'll receive nothing further from this company. Get your things and leave. If you refuse, the police will be called." Travis's face twisted, but he didn't argue. He stormed toward the office. Darren turned to Haley. "You've been honest, helpful, and you care about doing things right. You're not a temp anymore. Starting next week, you'll be in charge of backroom operations. Full-time. Better pay. Benefits." Her mouth opened slightly. She looked like she wasn't sure whether to speak. "Thank you," she said finally. "I didn't think anyone saw." "I saw." He turned next to Carl. "You've shown up every day. You don't say much, but you've kept this place together longer than anyone. From now on, you report directly to me. If you need anything, repairs, staff, supplies, you get it. And you're getting a raise." Carl just nodded once, slow and deliberate. Darren took a breath. "Tomorrow, this store closes for a full inventory and audit. I'm bringing in a new manager and we're cleaning up everything. No more locked closets. No more disappearing donations." Haley asked, "What about the missing stuff?" "We'll track down what we can. Anything we can't, we'll replace." She hesitated. "What if there's more? At other stores?" Darren looked at her. "There might be. I'm not stopping here." That night, he stayed late, sitting on the floor of the back room with Carl and Haley, going through every bin, every shelf, every record they could find. There were gaps. Items logged but never priced. Old donation slips with no matching receipts. It would take weeks to undo the damage. But for the first time in a long time, Darren felt like the company his father built was still alive, buried beneath the greed, but not gone. And he wasn't going to let anyone bury it again. The following week, Store 7 stayed closed to the public. The front windows were covered with brown paper, a printed sign taped to the glass, temporarily closed for restructuring. "Thank you for your patience." Inside, the air was different. Not just because the space was quieter, but because the people inside carried themselves differently. Haley now had keys. Carl had a clipboard. And Darren, no longer Ethan, was sitting behind the office desk with a laptop, reviewing donation intake logs that didn't line up with anything they'd actually found in storage. As promised, Darren had brought in a new manager. Her name was Janelle Ruiz, a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her early 40s with 2 decades of retail management under her belt and a reputation for turning around disorganized stores. She wasn't warm, but she was fair. She also didn't tolerate excuses. "No more cash pouches," she said bluntly during the morning meeting. "All registered donations go straight into the new drop box, which is bolted down and monitored by camera. We'll collect every Friday with 2-person verification." Haley leaned forward. "Are we getting cameras in the back, too?" "Already ordered," Janelle said. "They'll be installed by the end of the week. Donation room, loading dock, and the office hallway." Darren watched as Haley glanced toward the supply closet, the one Travis had used to hide the designer baby items. It was now empty, the lock removed. "Any update on the missing inventory?" Carl asked, voice low but clear. "We recovered some of it," Darren said. "A few resale shops across town had tags from our store still attached. We're working with a private investigator to track the rest. It's slow, but we'll keep pushing." Carl nodded once. That was all he needed. By the second day of the closure, more staff from other stores had stepped in to help. Not management. Darren wanted fresh eyes. These were floor workers, sorters, people who knew how things should look when done right but had no stake in covering anything up. One of them, a tall woman named Shonda from Store 4, paused while sorting a box labeled, "Hold for review." "Why's this stuff tagged but not logged?" she asked. holding up a pair of boots with no intake sheet attached. Haley checked the label. That's Travis's handwriting. Darren came over. Add it to the discrepancies folder. And flag any more like it. They found 47 items that day alone. All high value: jackets, headphones, shoes, electronics. None had been processed through official intake. That evening, Janelle pulled Darren aside. "You need to know something," she said. "I talked to one of the part-time cashiers. She worked under Travis for 2 years. She said he used to make her void transactions at the end of the day, then pocket the difference and tell her it was just drawer balancing. She didn't know better. She was 16 when she started." Darren's jaw tightened. "She still works here?" "No. She left last year." "But I asked her to write a statement." Darren nodded. "Have her send it to me directly. We'll include it in the legal file." The next morning, Darren met with the regional HR rep in the break room. He had a printed spreadsheet of employee complaints filed over the last 18 months. 7 anonymous reports from this store alone, the rep said, tapping the sheet. All dismissed without follow-up. 3 were submitted while Travis was manager. Why weren't they investigated? They were marked as resolved on site. Signed off by the district manager. Darren looked at the name. He didn't recognize it. Is he still with the company? He retired last month. Convenient. Darren returned to the floor where Carl was helping a younger temp lift donation bins onto a shelf. "You ever file a complaint?" Darren asked him quietly. Carl paused. "Once. About 2 years back. Didn't go anywhere." "What was it about?" Travis made a comment to a customer. Woman came in with her son. Kid had Down syndrome. Travis told her to try the clearance bin since she probably needed the discount. Loud enough for everyone to hear. Darren's expression didn't change. "That's all I needed to know." The next day they reopened. The first customer through the door was the same woman who donated the box of baby clothes, the one Travis had hidden. Haley recognized her immediately and walked over. "Hi," she said gently. "I don't know if you remember me, but you donated some baby items a couple weeks ago." The woman looked surprised. "Yeah, I was hoping they got used. I came in last week and didn't see them." Haley nodded. "They didn't make it to the floor, but we found them. They're up front now, displayed properly. And we're donating all proceeds from those items to a local group that supports grieving parents. In your honor." The woman's eyes filled. She didn't say anything, just reached out and hugged her. By noon, the store was buzzing. Customers were back. And something had shifted. Items were clearly labeled. Staff were visible, engaged. Prices were consistent. Darren stood near the entrance, watching. He wasn't pretending anymore, but he wasn't removed either. Several customers greeted him as they came in, not knowing who he was. One man approached him near the electronics shelf. "You work here?" "I do." The man gestured toward the register. "That girl who helped me, Haley, she's sharp. Knows her stuff. Told me exactly which speakers still had warranty tags. I've been to 4 thrift stores this week. Nobody else even knew what they were selling." Darren smiled. "She's been a huge asset. We're lucky to have her." When the man left, Darren found Haley near the back, restocking mugs. "You're getting compliments already," he said. She looked up. "What?" "Customer said you helped him pick out speakers. Said you were the only person all week who knew what you were talking about." She flushed slightly. "I used to work at an audio shop during college. Figured the knowledge might come in handy someday. Well, it's paying off. Starting next month, I want you running product training for all new hires. You're good at what you do, and I want others learning from you." Her eyes widened. "I've never trained anyone before. You'll do fine. Just show them what right looks like." Carl passed by, giving her a small nod. She straightened a little as he did. Later that afternoon, as Darren reviewed the day's intake logs, Janelle joined him in the office. "You were right to shut this place down before it got worse," she said. "I should have done it sooner. Most owners wouldn't have done it at all." He didn't respond. He was thinking about the donation box, the voided transactions, the woman who left her job at 16 thinking she'd done something wrong. "We're going to do a full audit of every store," he said finally. "One at a time. No warning. I'll go in myself if I need to." Janelle raised an eyebrow. "You really want to start over?" "No," he said. "I want to fix what should have never been broken." Outside, a customer handed Haley a receipt and quietly asked if the store took requests for specific donation needs. Haley called over Carl, who helped the man fill out a form. And Darren watched, silent, knowing this was how it was supposed to be. No secrets. No greed. Just people helping people. 3 weeks later, Store 7 was running with quiet, methodical precision. The chaos had been replaced with clean processes and clear accountability. Every donation was logged, every item traceable from intake to shelf. The staff had stabilized, but Darren knew that systems alone wouldn't rebuild trust, not with the community and not inside the company. He stood in the break room holding a clipboard. The room had a fresh coat of paint. Not expensive, just enough to cover the water stains that had been ignored for years. A new microwave sat in the corner, bought with the same petty cash budget managers once used for miscellaneous expenses that never had receipts. Haley walked in, rubbing her hands with sanitizer. "Customer came in asking for heavy jackets again," she said. "Said he's got 3 kids and couldn't afford new ones this winter. I let him pull from the staff reserve bin." Darren nodded. "That's fine. You used your discretion." "He didn't ask for a discount," she added. "Just wanted something warm enough to get them through the mornings. He shouldn't have to explain himself." She sat down, exhaling. "I didn't think I'd care this much about a thrift store." Darren checked a box on his sheet. "Neither did I until I realized I'd let it drift too far from what it was supposed to be. You don't strike me as someone who misses the details." "I didn't. I ignored them. Big difference." She looked at him. "You think this place will ever be trusted again?" "If we earn it. One rack at a time." He left her with that and headed to the front. 2 volunteers were arranging the new community corner section, a concept he'd borrowed from a conversation with Carl, who had suggested a designated area for free items donated specifically for those in need. They didn't advertise it with signage. Just made it known quietly, word of mouth. It was working. Outside, a silver sedan pulled up. Darren didn't recognize it, but he saw Janelle step out of the passenger side. She was talking to someone, a younger man with a laptop bag. They both walked in. "Darren," Janelle said, nodding toward her companion. "This is Marcus, compliance auditor. You asked for a full review of donation channels across all locations. He's starting here." Darren looked at Marcus. "You read the reports?" "Yes," Marcus said. "There are pattern gaps at 3 other stores. One has incomplete donation logs for over 6 months. Another store's registered donations don't match bank deposits. I've flagged everything that needs escalation." "Any signs of theft?" "Not provable yet," Marcus said. "But the patterns are too specific to be random." Darren took a breath. "Start with store 3. Quietly. No heads up. I'll meet you there Thursday." As Marcus walked off, Janelle stepped closer. "You sure you want to go store by store yourself? I missed it once. I won't let it happen again. You're going to burn out. I'm not doing it alone. Just leading from the front for a while." That night, Darren stayed late again. He was reviewing employee files when he found a note attached to Carl's record. It was dated 3 years ago. A former manager had requested Carl be moved to part-time because he wasn't personable enough to interact with customers. There were no performance issues listed. No violations. Just that. The manager's name was no longer with the company. Darren pulled up Carl's current file and updated his status to Senior Inventory Specialist. He didn't need to ask anyone's permission. The following morning, he caught Carl near the back room. "You're getting an official title," Darren said. "It's overdue." Carl looked at him briefly. "I don't need one." "That's not the point." Carl nodded once and returned to stacking boxes. That was his way of saying thank you. Later that day, Haley flagged him from the register. "There's a guy outside. Says he used to work here. Wants to talk to you." Darren stepped out and immediately recognized the man standing near the edge of the lot. It was the cashier who'd replaced Travis on weekends. His name was Devante. Thought you left, Darren said. I did. But I heard what happened. Darren waited. I want to come back, Devante said. I left because I didn't know who to trust. I thought nobody cared. But, sounds like that's changed. Darren studied him. Why now? I got a job at a gas station. Pays okay. But I kept thinking about how I didn't say anything when I saw Travis void those sales. I didn't speak up. I just quit. You were young, Darren said. And he had authority. That's not on you. I still should have said something. Darren nodded. You'll start part-time. Weekends and 2 weekday shifts. You'll shadow Haley the first week. After that we talk again. Devante looked surprised but didn't argue. I won't waste it. You shouldn't have had to earn back what someone else stole. Inside, Haley watched as Devante filled out paperwork. She didn't say anything at first. Then quietly, feels like we're putting something back together that never should have broken. We are, Darren said. He stepped into the office and called the HR coordinator. I want a new policy added, he said. Every staff member, regardless of position, can bypass management and submit concerns directly to executive review. Anonymous or named. And I want it posted in every break room. Understood, the coordinator replied. And another thing, no more temp-only hires for backroom operations. If someone's good enough to keep for more than 60 days, they're good enough for benefits. By the end of the week, Store 7's sales had stabilized. Not surged, but steadied. More importantly, donation volume had increased. Darren knew why. People talk, especially when they've been burned. But they talk even more when someone makes it right. The final audit report from Marcus came in that Friday. 3 stores had minor discrepancies. One had a manager who'd been falsifying overtime logs for his nephew. That manager was terminated the same day. His replacement had already been identified, someone from the floor staff who had consistently shown leadership without asking for attention. Darren didn't attend that termination meeting. He didn't have to. The systems were now in place. On Saturday morning, he returned to Store 7. Not in disguise, not with a clipboard. Just to walk the aisles. Children were flipping through picture books. A man was trying on a work jacket near the mirror. Haley was teaching a new cashier how to handle a customer return, calm voice, direct eye contact, no condescension. Carl adjusted a shelf end cap near the toys section, adding a sign that said, "Free today only." No one had told him to do it. Darren watched for a while, then stepped outside. The air was cold. The kind of cold that hinted at first snow. He pulled his coat tighter and looked up at the simple blue and white sign above the door. Langston Family Thrift. It didn't mean what it used to, not yet, but it meant something again. And this time he'd be here to make sure it stayed that way.